mean, I think it's the difference between the minor leagues and the major leagues. So I have no illusions that service in the Florida House is the same as service in Congress, but it's similar. It's 120 members of all walks of life who are elected in Florida, and Florida's a pretty good state indicative of the nation. I mean, we're one of the more diverse melting pots, if you will. In Congress, 435, people from all over there.
Can you give me an example at the federal level of one of the current hot button issues? You can pick whichever one you want at the federal level, where you would be willing to buck the Republican leadership to make a difference, a practical difference for Lee County.
I don't think there's anything more important right now to our nation and therefore to Lee County than putting our nation's fiscal house in order. We continue on a daily basis to build a deficit that is unsustainable. And if we don't address it, and if we don't take it for the serious threat to our nation that it is, then I think we fail.
What are your thoughts on how to do that?
I spent significant time talking about the downturn in the economy, my response as a business person as well as in the legislature, because I think it's the same process. It's the willingness to make a decision that is not popular in order to bring the budget under balance. You've got, in other words, if you're, for me, I'll just speak for myself. If I were to go to Washington, if the voters of Southwest Florida place me there, and I am able, through my actions and a collaborative effort with others within the Congress, to bring about a balanced budget, and it gets me unelected, I think that's for me, something I come back to home feeling very good about. I don't need the job, I don't need to be there, and I have no ambitions of staying there for any great length of time. I just want to do three things: balance the budget, cut and cap spending at 20% of GDP, and reform the career politician mentality in Congress, hopefully with term limits, but at the very least to do away with the perks like federal pensions and federal health care plans that members of Congress get.
I'd like a distillation. You're obviously very passionately in support of virtually every Republican candidate's platform, planks. The country's headed in the wrong direction, and so we'd like to make a correction. And you have been through the freshman experience, and you understand that. The constituency, I think you will agree, in Southwest Florida may well have health care as a very, very high priority due to the makeup of the constituency. It is even possible in the future that that constituency would be in support of some Democratic proposition, or Democrat, I should say, proposition, or in opposition, theoretically, to a Republican proposal because of the way it would affect health care and senior citizens. Would you vote your conscience, or would you vote the will of the constituency?
Well, your question presupposes that anyone can know the will of the constituency.
Yes, it does.
And that, I got to reject that portion of it, because I don't know that we ever know the will of the constituency except every 2 years at the ballot.
Well, polls. Everybody uses polls.
Not so much at a county level. You get national polls, but that doesn't reflect the will of the constituency, which would be Lee and Western Collier. So again, I think you can't have the conversation about health care absent the conversation about the budget, because that is the biggest impact to the budget at both the state and federal level. You guys, I think, are doing a great job in bringing up this issue of health care and personal responsibility with your recent articles and this wellness challenge that's going on out there and so forth. I mean, for us to get our nation back on track, we've got to get back to the point of personal responsibility in many things where we don't have it today. And healthcare is one of them. And one of the challenges with healthcare is that consumers are unaware of the cost. They're many times unconcerned with the cost because they don't pay it. And so whether it's bad choices that lead to poor health, that require, you know, all the things you've been writing about, diabetes, hypertension, onward and onward, heart disease, cancers, many of which are preventable through good health habits. We've got to set up a system where people have some skin in the game on healthcare, all people. And I went through something very personal in my own family that made me hyper aware of this a couple of decades ago. My first child was born at Lee Memorial in 1988 when my wife was teaching at Riverdale and had a very good health plan. My second child was born in 1991, a year following a downturn in the real estate economy, when my wife was no longer teaching and I was in the real estate business. And to save money, we stopped buying our own health care plan, and then we had to have that second child without insurance. And it's a long story, but the short version is, because I was involved in the costs of the care, we prepaid, and the net result was that delivery was about half as expensive as the one insurance had paid for 3 years earlier. And one was paid for by me, one was paid for by insurance, right? You probably all have had similar experiences with healthcare. I had some inflammation. I was once prescribed a prescription drug of 800 milligrams of ibuprofen. I went to pick it up, and the copay was significant. And I said to the pharmacist, "What's the difference between one of these or me taking 4 Advil?" He said, "It's the same." "Well, I'm not going to take that prescription, thank you very much. I'm going to take the 4 Advil." I mean, it's not as simple as that, obviously, but it's the idea that people become aware. So to the extent that we can make healthcare costs transparent, we can build competition and open access to the insurance market, we can do some things to drive down healthcare. And to the extent that people are willing and able to take on some personal responsibility in their own health, will go a long way as well.
I have a question about a health bill that you were intimately involved in. It has to do with a malpractice case brought against Lee Memorial by Aaron Edwards' family. Edwards claim bill HB 967. Edwards' trial lawyers recruited Miami legislators to file a $31 million claims bill. You, in 2011, after being briefed by Lee Memorial of the adverse impact on the claim bill would have, and prevented, and after you heard this, you prevented the bill from being heard in the House of Representatives because of your position as on the Rules Committee. On January 24th of this year, you assured the board that you opposed the Edwards claim bill, and as long as you were in the legislature, an Edwards claim bill would not pass. And you said, to use the words here, you had Lee's back. In subsequent meetings, you reiterated your commitment to blocking the Edwards bill and said it would not even be heard in committee to prevent the emotion of the case from once again overwhelming the facts. The Edwards trial lawyers produced a television commercial in which Aaron Edwards, who will be 15 this coming September, appealed to you for help. This commercial aired a few times on a single television station in Fort Myers. Then on Monday, February